I don't know who needs to hear this, but stop talking and get to work. Listen, talking about your idea feels amazing, but the real magic happens when you stop talking and start doing. Often we confuse the excitement of talking about an idea with the deeper satisfaction of actually making it happen. I'm sure we've all felt that rush. The rush you get when you mention an idea to friends and family. It feels like you're halfway there. When people respond with enthusiasm, you start to feel that glory that you've yet to earn. And suddenly you get this burst of energy without making any sort of progress. It's as if our brains start rewarding us prematurely, handing out a prize before we've earned it. And the problem I realized is that this temporary reward can easily replace the motivation to do the work. Instead of harnessing that excitement and translating it into action, like drafting a business plan or practicing an instrument or sitting down to write the first chapter of your book, we let the idea remain just that, an idea. We go around telling people what we're going to do, which then leads to complacency. Our minds are tricked into believing we've achieved something when we're still sitting on the couch. All we've done is talk. And this is something that's close to my heart because I've dealt with this what feels like my entire life. I used to get these big, exciting visions, new ideas I can't wait to share with everyone. My mom, my uncle, even my dog. I'd tell my cat if I had one. And each time they'd reassure me that I'm onto something. In that moment, I feel as if I'm already standing at the finish line, ready to buy my dad that car I promised him, ready to buy my mum those bags I promised her, the house I promised her. And just like that, I get this wave of satisfaction. But the problem is, I haven't actually built or produced a thing. And sometimes I take a small step like designing a quick logo or stocking up on empty bottles to one day fill with sauce that I've still got in the loft. But then it fizzles out. And all that remains is that high of having talked about it, alongside a few unused supplies and a plan that never left the page. And I started noticing a pattern. The more I talked about an idea, the less energy I had to actually begin it. It was like the excitement I should have directed towards the creation process was actually being pushed away by those discussions. And at first I felt guilty. Why couldn't I just do the thing I was so passionate about and thought was such a great idea? But then I actually watched a podcast. I think it was Andrew Huberman. And I learned that there's a biological component to this. Because talking about a goal releases dopamine, the same chemical that fires when you complete a task or you have a good meal or receive praise. It's a chemical reward, and it can be powerful enough to make our brains think we've already done something meaningful. So over time, I decided to stop talking about an idea. Of course, like we all do, I still daydream a lot because imagination does have its value, but I wouldn't announce my ideas immediately before sharing anything with my mum, uncle, dog, or hypothetical cat. I challenged myself to prove I was serious. If an idea was to start a YouTube channel, I'd film and edit the first one. If I wanted to start a clothing brand, I'd buy a blank and start designing it. And by doing that, I'd harness that excitement and use it as fuel to produce something, not just talk about it. And this approach has two effects. First, it made me realize which ideas I was actually passionate about. Because when you're forced to do something like for a video or design a t-shirt, I discovered whether I actually enjoyed it enough to continue. If I found the process tedious or uninspiring, then maybe the idea wasn't for me. But if I lost track of time, it's a good sign that I found something worth pursuing. The second effect was that once I had something concrete, I'd finished a draft, a rough sample, I felt an even better and genuine burst of dopamine because the satisfaction was rooted in reality and not just words. let's face it, we're humans, we're animals. We all crave validation. We all crave encouragement. It's natural. But when the praise comes too early, it creates a false sense of completion. If everyone around you says, wow, that's amazing, or yo, that's sick, you unconsciously start to feel like your idea is already successful. Meanwhile, you haven't built, recorded, or designed anything. You're still sitting on that couch. And trust me, that real encouragement feels far sweeter when it acknowledges something tangible, like when I hear, bro, I watched your video and it really resonated with me, or I read that draft of your book and here's what I loved about it. That kind of praise is based on real work, not just a pitch. And you know, that moment when you're about to go into a full-blown TED talk about your latest big idea. Instead of doing that, just pause for a second. Channel that excitement into something productive. Like, if you're dreaming about opening a bakery, why not watch a video about how to perfect a croissant? If you're writing a book, maybe just write some stuff. See where your imagination takes you. It's not about skipping the excitement, it's about redirecting it. By doing this, you're taking that energy and turning it into fuel for the progress, rather than just letting it evaporate into thin air. Something that I love to talk about, and let's talk about accountability. People always say, tell everyone your plan so they can hold you accountable. But the thing is, that advice can backfire. As we discussed, and as I'm sure you probably felt, sometimes announcing your goals too early gives you that dopamine hit that makes you feel like you've already achieved something. Whereas a better approach might be to share your journey when you've actually hit a milestone, when you've actually done something. For example, yo, I designed the first draft of my product. What do you think? That way the feedback and encouragement you get is actually tied to actual progress, not just the idea itself. Now here's where it gets a bit tricky. Fear. A lot of the time we talk about our plans instead of acting on them because we're scared. We're scared to fail. Scared it won't be as good as we imagined. We're scared we'll realize we're not as skilled as we thought. Talking feels safe, man. But doing, hey! That's where things get messy. Honestly, it's okay. Failure isn't the end, it's actually part of the process. Every misstep teaches you something. It might show you what doesn't work or push you to try a different approach. Either way, it's a movement forward, and that's better than standing still. I've had my fair share of failed attempts, trust me. Like, I tried something new and been like, well, that didn't go as planned, that actually flopped. But here's the thing, those moments are part of the journey. Looking back, I'm glad they happened because they taught me on what to improve on. And the best part is seeing how far I've come since those failed attempts. That's way more satisfying than any fleeting rush I get from talking about something I'm not doing it. One thing I have learned is that the hardest part of any project is genuinely the beginning. Starting can feel like stepping into a void. It's unknown and uncomfortable. But once you take that first step, things start to shift. You stop worrying about what might happen and start getting curious about what will happen. That curiosity starts to compound and builds momentum. You start thinking, if I've gotten this far, what's next? It's not about trying to conquer everything at once. It's about taking one step at a time and letting those small wins push you forward. And if you're looking for a way to stay grounded, write stuff down. I read a book from David Goggins. He had an exercise where he mentioned having an accountability mirror. And that's something you can translate for your own idea. It's simple. Just write down what you've done. Maybe you drafted an outline, edited a short video, or brainstormed for 15 minutes. The point is to shift the focus from thinking to doing. And at the end of the week, when you see a list of tangible actions, it hits differently. You start feeling proud about what you've achieved, not just because you've talked a big game, because you're actually making progress. And here's the thing about those real actions. They give you the kind of dopamine hit that's stronger, more lasting. It's not the quick rush of someone saying, oh, that's a good idea. It's a deeper satisfaction of holding something you've built, something that exists because you made it happen. It's looking at a finished painting or a draft of a novel that sticks with you because it's grounded in realness, not just hypotheticals. So the next time you feel that spark of excitement about an idea, take a second, pause, ask yourself, have I done anything concrete to move this forward? The answer is no. Channel that excitement into taking a step. Write a paragraph, sketch a design, make a t-shirt, shoot a video. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to exist. And when you eventually share it with others, the hit will be so much sweeter because it's tied to something that's real. It's not just a dream. And here's the thing I actually didn't expect. The process itself can actually be fulfilling. Once you start working on your idea, you might discover that you love the doing part. You might realize that the building, the learning, the figuring things out is just as rewarding as the end result. Or on the flip side, you might find out that the path isn't for you. That's okay too. Action has this amazing way of clarifying things. It shows us what works, what doesn't, and what truly matters to us. So if you've been stuck in that cycle of talking more than doing, don't beat yourself up. It's something that many of us experience. I know I have for countless years. So the next time inspiration hits, challenge yourself to act first. Let your actions speak louder than your words. When you do talk about your progress, it will feel even better because you know you've earned that moment. So dream big. Imagine the possibilities, but don't stop there. Take the next step, no matter how small. Start turning those ideas into realities. Because at the end of the day, the real reward isn't in the talking, it's in the doing. And once you start, you'll see just how much you're capable of creating. So get busy, take action. I love you all. Peace.